I interviewed several Grinberg practitioners recently and had the opportunity to sit down with Avi Grinberg in one of the centres in Berlin. So thanks for doing the interview today, Avi. For someone who's never heard of the Grinberg method before, how would you explain it or describe what it is?
It is a method that teaches you to pay attention and build up your level of energy. With enough energy and attention, there are very few things that cannot be achieved. So it can be taken into the direction of recovering from physical conditions, like after surgery, an accident, or an illness, or recovering from chronic pain and similar kinds of conditions, or it can be used to stop what you don't want to experience in your life. If you carry an old fear with you, if you carry a set of conclusions about who you are, what you can do, what you cannot do, and then with your level of energy, which is higher and much more attention, you basically are trying to stop what you don't want to continue.
Can you tell me about some of the influences and different disciplines that you studied and how the Grinberg method kind of evolved?
Okay. If I look backwards, the first thing that I did and experienced in this direction was to do Zen meditation when I was 16. I was doing this parallel to martial arts that I was learning. And actually there I started to get very interested in perception and attention. When I was in the army, I became a medic and I suddenly gained a perspective of illness, suffering, pain that I didn't have before. And immediately afterwards I started to learn in different directions things that connect attention, healing, recovery. And I was doing this in different parts of the world, partly by learning with people like faith healers and shamans and people that did a kind of healing that had no dependency on drugs or technology, but mostly on their ability to pay attention. Those were people that could sit for 12 hours without moving, hardly breathing visibly, and focus on one point. I never saw anything like that before. And I was learning just more and more how to evolve my own attention and then improve my clients' attention. In the beginning, I was more into healing and doing things to the people I was working with. And over time, this transformed into teaching my clients and not trying to heal them, and teaching them actually to heal themselves using their own abilities, but mostly by developing their attention.
Was there a turning point when this paradigm shift occurred?
Yes, about 10 years into my work, I noticed that people that I work with, that I was treating then for chronic conditions, I would achieve a temporary improvement. And after a few months or even a year or two, they would come back in the place where they started. And we would have to do it again. And what worked first time doesn't work the second time, and the third time for sure not. And then I found myself actually creating a dependency between me and the people that came to me. And then I was looking for a way to deal with that, and I thought that if you teach a person not to do what he was doing with himself before, there is a better chance of it to really stay in his experience and not needing me again and again.
How did you, I guess, start to notice that it was about how people were reacting to fear and pain and what they did with their bodies?
It started first of all when I was working with pain, mostly chronic pain. Working with people with chronic pain, and for a long time it was very visible that they are their own enemies, that they invest so much of their energy and attention in fighting off the pain, trying to eliminate it, overcome it, erase it, forget it, that instead of just dealing with the issue, they invest so much energy of avoiding it that it gets just more complicated. And then slowly, I started to teach them how not to react to pain. My largest surprise was to see that when the reactions are stopped, then most of the time the pain is gone. It's like by refusing it, we leave it stuck. Then I saw that once we stop reacting to pain and the body is able to perceive pain as is, It experiences it, and then it's over. It transforms. It's just like a feeling that comes and goes, that is not there established. And then I understood that we are establishing pain and making it into a chronic problem by the way we relate to it.
How did you notice what people were doing, and how did you distill the physical problems down to how we deal with fear and pain?
Oh, this is a very large question. Can we break it down a bit?
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
First, let's deal with fear and pain, okay? When I talk about fear and pain, I look at them as the forces that shape human attention more than anything else. Because when we are not reacting to fear and pain and they don't appear as terrible things to us, our attention is expanding and goes outward into the world. When we suffer from intense fear and pain or continuous fear and pain, we start to shrink internally. Our attention moves in, we start to live in an internal world that has very little connection to the outside. A lot of physical conditions are created because of this shift of attention from body to inner world. And I was starting with that to see the need to relearn how to produce body attention, how to maintain it, and how to use it when somebody has to recover from any kind of symptom.
Mm-hmm. How did we get it so wrong with dealing with fear and pain?
I read a lot about history and very ancient history, because there was a point in human evolution that instead of being hunter-gatherers, we became village people, and we started to live in the same place, build houses. This transformation basically was a transformation from living in constant fear, because you lived wild and everything that wanted to eat you wasn't far away from you, was very close to you. And this state of constant attention to your surroundings, we broke away from it by making the walls that separated us from reality and in a way kept us safe. And it wasn't just the act of building the walls, because we built the same walls inside of our attention. And we did that to hide away from fear and from pain that are always together. And this marked a big change after 2 million years of evolution, in which we were part of the world. We started to separate from the world because we didn't want fear anymore.
Why do you think that we try so hard not to feel these things? Is it just that they're unpleasant, or is it societal pressures? Or?
I wasn't there 14,000 years ago, so the first person that did that, I have no idea why he did that. I can tell you that our bodies are designed to experience fear and pain, but not long ones. Okay? If you look at an animal being hunted, it's terrified for 5 minutes, then it either managed to escape or got to be eaten. So the terror is never long. With humans, you can see that we can be in terror for 50 years and it never stops. And you can see that in the beginning it may have been just a need to defend myself from too much fear or for too long fear. And then it got established just as a habit of attention that we pass from generation to generation. It's just the same continuation of mind state that tells you that fear and pain are terrible enemies and you should do without. And the strange thing about it is that those enemies don't go away. And it's strange that we live for such a long time and we never take care to deal with something that we meet every day and in many forms, and somehow avoiding it became an art. If you think of a person that comes and let's say he got a bruise on his knee, okay? And the bruise is blue and it's very painful and it's a bit swollen, and I put him on the table. First of all, what he did with his attention is to cut away from the knee. He doesn't want the pain and he's afraid that he'll have a problem, so he actually sucked his attention back away from the knee. So the touch will bring the attention back. See, when I pull away attention from a body part, this body part gets much less circulation and less food and less attention, and it can heal much slower. But once I bring the attention back, the speed of the recovery, that would anyway happen, naturally. The body naturally would heal it anyway, but now he gets the resources, the energy and attention necessary, so he does it really quick. This is not intellectual, this is how in our bodies we are reacting to the pain. Because to understand this doesn't mean you know how to stop your reaction to pain, it just means that it gives you the idea. But how you really react to pain, you have to be very attentive to what you do in your body.
Isn't it kind of a survival mechanism for the mind to dissociate from the body?
Sure, sure. Look, if you look at fainting, fainting is the ultimate kind of disconnecting. It's too much, your consciousness stopped. Okay? And this is a natural body mechanism that aims to keep you survive the situation. If you think of short fear and pain, okay, the body can take that. But you increase the length of time, and we cannot take that. And then, yes, we disassociate, we move, we partition our minds, we leave our body behind and somehow maintain it, and the rest of us move to a safer place inside. Then you can survive the bad situation. Now, let's say it's over, the war is over, whatever was terrible is over. Now the trick is to come back and not to stay separated and split like this. And in this, many people don't know how to come back. They know how to go away because we learned that in our culture, but we find it very difficult to unify ourselves again and heal those splits that we had to do in order to survive.
So how do you think we should deal with fear and pain?
It starts with a change of attitude. If I don't see them just as bad or just as wrong, and I don't try immediately to avoid them, and then I notice that I automatically, and I was taught by my culture, to respond to them in certain ways, not just in my mind, but also in how, for example, I stop breathing. Okay? Mostly when people are afraid, the first thing they do is do this. They contract, they stop breathing, and they, in a way, freeze. And fear is a strong energy that allows us to become more awake and more strong and more flexible and to be able to run faster. So we can see that we block all this power, and then to block it we need so much energy that we stay paralyzed and helpless. So the trick is to learn how to agree to allow all this energy to become me and to move me and to move with it instead of trying to block it and actually suffering them from two forces that are colliding in me.
Tell me about how, or explain how the body responds when we allow it to feel fear and pain.
Okay. It depends on which stage of learning it is. Okay? A beginner that comes to learn and lies on the table, once his mind is more silent and his body is relaxing and he's not doing too much effort anywhere, and he's breathing deeply and he pays attention to his body, actually the first thing that he'll find is fear. Fear not in terms of understanding or connecting to past traumas or anything, because fear is existing in every moment. You're alive, you're mortal, you're afraid. Now, this is not the fear that you can talk about, because I'm talking about body fear. And this fear is continuous and is there, we just always cut away from it. So beginners will start to feel this, and many times what they feel is a strong flow, like electricity. Their body shivers or shakes a little bit, the jaw does this. And they feel that there is really like an internal shower or a wave of fear flowing in their bodies. And in the beginning they react to it intensively, like it's frightening, the fear. Okay? So they react to it, they try to block it, they don't know what it is, etc. But the more they are relaxed, actually it's incredibly pleasant, because you feel alive. This is why people do dangerous sports, to have this kind of liveliness and intensity. And actually showing people on the table that this exists already within their basic experience. They usually just cut away from it.
How did the Grinberg method start from an idea, and how did there come to be other practitioners, I guess?
Okay. some of my clients wanted to learn. And I started to get invitations to teach in different formats. And I ended up teaching now. When my first book came out, I started to be invited to teach abroad in different places, to lecture in different places, and I started basically to have the base of the school that we have today. So that was about 86, 87, and now this school is growing, and it is quite international, and it's all built on attention.
So when someone starts a treatment, how soon will they see the results and how long will they need treatment?
First of all, we don't call it a treatment because it's a learning process. When you think of treatment, you go to somebody and he fixes you. And here we say it's a learning process because you come to learn something, okay? Now, we train our practitioners to work between 4 to 6 sessions and to expect real results. Real is not a little change, but real effect, real benefit. If not, they should stop. Even in many complicated conditions that take sometimes 2-3 years to really deal with, still between 4 to 6 sessions there will be a relevant, significant change that shows why we should continue.
Can you tell me briefly what a couple of those changes would be?
Depends on the condition. You want me to talk about serious conditions, or I work, for example, with a client now that is paralyzed from here, from the middle of his back down for 5 years. He came to me about 2.5 years ago, and I did about 4 to 6 sessions with him. I think it was 6. And then I saw that when I work with him, he starts to get some kind of movement in his legs. And from total paralysis to get a little movement in the leg is a big, significant change. And now, 2.5 years later, he manages today to stand on his knees. And I decided to actually invest all this time and work with him because he showed me a small, significant change. Okay? So another person just with a back pain, has 10 years back pain, came to 4 sessions and reduced the back pain in 50%. It's a real significant change.
Can you tell me the kinds of pain or symptoms that the Grinberg method is most appropriate to treat and conditions that it isn't?
We work with people that are basically healthy and have an issue that they want to stop in their lives, like chronic pain or anxiety, etc. We do not and we cannot work with people that are very sick because we need as a base a lot of attention and energy. And if somebody is very sick and is dying or is not able to communicate and learn, okay, you can see that we don't really have an avenue of communication. He is either too weak, and then we cannot use his energy. This is what we use when we teach. Or he is unable to follow instructions like breathe or pay attention to something. Another kind of people we cannot work with is people that are very dependent on medication to survive, like people with HIV or people with cancer, that even if they are still strong, the medication that they receive, when we work with them, we can interfere in the relationship between them and the medication. And in those conditions, we'll never interfere. Okay? The same goes for people that had transplants, that now receive drugs against rejection. And again, for making sure we don't endanger their lives, we will not interfere.
And how does the medical establishment view the Grinberg method?
Some doctors are clients, some doctors come to study, some doctors send people, especially with chronic pain. And basically, since we don't exchange medicine, and we actually demand from our clients to be checked and have medical treatment parallel to what we do, and we don't call ourselves alternative medicine, and actually we live very well next to medicine. Since we teach people, and actually we make them better patients, okay? Because they're more responsible, they're more attentive, they take care more, they take a part in becoming healthy. Actually, a good client becomes a good patient for the doctor. So we live very well together.
Can you tell me about the code of ethical guidelines of the Grinberg method?
The ethical code actually comes out from the practice and how we teach. That the responsibility for the learning is truly with the client, and that our responsibility is to be fantastic teachers, but it's his responsibility to be fantastic students. Okay? And then basically the code of ethics protects the client's privacy, protects his self-respect and autonomy, in the sense that everything that he chooses is actually his choice. Not by advice, not by support, and definitely not by getting sets of commands or demands about what he should or shouldn't do. We are trying to teach people to be free and to become more of themselves. So everything that can be done to block that shouldn't be there. So the code of ethics actually look at all the things that we shouldn't do, because they will block the person from achieving more personal freedom.
Where is the line between providing constructive feedback and advice and being judgmental? Like, can things go wrong due to inexperience or?
Okay. First of all, we're not supposed to give advice. We teach people to stop what they do with themselves and to gain attention. Advice is meaningless in this kind of terms. Mm-hmm. But the whole training is built to achieve such detachment, such ability to look, and without judgment and without any kind of interference or interest. Okay? Just to give you what is, and you choose to do whatever you want.
But interestingly, with the Grinberg method, I mean, something that you've talked about is that it's not necessary to retell in exact detail a trauma that someone has experienced in the past. Can you tell me why that is?
There are a few reasons why we are not obsessed with the past. First of all, we actually will have to deal with speculation, and we'll have to deal with blaming, and we'll have to deal with other issues that are not at all how I manage to heal my attention and to become one again, overcoming the trauma of the past. Because once you focus on the trauma, then you try to go back there, and you don't have a time machine, because you exist now. And what happened then, happened then. Now, what really matters to us is how you maintain this fear and pain of the trauma today in your body. Everything the body does, we work with. Okay? The whole idea is that we join the attention of the body, and where it's weak, we make it pay more attention. Where it's obsessively busy with, okay, we teach it to let go of this place.
One thing that I've noticed in the sessions also is that there's a lot of breathing and a lot of laughing. How important is humor to the Grinberg method?
Humor is essential. I mean, the things that people suffer from, their pains and fear, are real, and they are really painful and really frightening. And most of them belong into the past, because when they meet me, it's already over. Okay? And without humor, it becomes heavy, dramatic, serious, meaningful, significant, and you become obsessed with it. And you become hypnotized on your pain and fear. Humor allows you to let go of it easier. Now, it has to be a special kind of humor, that you don't really laugh at what really happened, because this is not the issue, but that you do it in a humoristic way. And yes, my clients spend half of their time on the table laughing. Between screaming and crying, they also laugh quite a lot.
Thank you so much for your time today, Avi. I really appreciate it.
I had a lot of fun myself. Thank you very much.